There is a type of person that you recognize from a distance, not by their clothes or the way they walk, but by the way they look at the world, as if life were a chessboard and each move needed to be calculated 3 moves in advance. They are those who make shopping lists in order of the supermarket aisle, who arrive at the airport 4 hours before their flight just in case, who have folders on their computer organized by date, theme, and level of urgency, with subfolders for maybe one day I'll need it. For them, spontaneity is not a gift, it is a risk. And while the rest of the world lives adapting to unforeseen events, they seem to live in a parallel universe, where chaos does not exist or, if it does, it is duly scheduled to be resolved on Tuesday, between 3 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. At first glance, it may seem like just a question of personality. So-and-so is like that, he likes order. But behind this need for meticulous control, there is something deeper than simple preference. It's not just about having the socks folded the same way or the seasoning jars aligned by height. It's about an emotional equation that few see. If I control the details, nothing else will get out of control. And this equation, almost always, is born from an old wound or from a fear that has never been named. Imagine a child who grew up hearing that making mistakes is unacceptable, who was only praised when everything went perfect, or who learned, too early, that the world is an unpredictable and dangerous place. For her, excessive planning is not a hobby, it is armor. Every list, every reminder, every backup is a brick in the fortress that protects against the anxiety of what if. These people's brains work like an early warning system. If I don't think everything through, something will go wrong. And if something goes wrong, I won't be able to cope. The irony. The more they plan, the more they feed their own anxiety, because life, by definition, escapes Excel squares. These compulsive planners, as we might call them, are often mistaken for rigid or even boring people. But the truth is that, behind the apparent coldness of the schedules, there is a heightened sensitivity. They don't plan because they don't know how to live any other way. They plan because, at some point, they learned that the world is safer when you can predict your steps. And that, of course, has a price. They may lose nights of sleep reviewing itineraries, feel a tightness in their chest when someone suggests letting go, or even postpone dreams for fear that they won't turn out exactly as imagined. Perfection, for them, is not an ideal, it is a need for emotional survival. But here's the fascinating paradox. This very trait that may seem limiting is actually a superpower in disguise. People like this are the ones who keep teams functioning in crises, who transform vague ideas into concrete projects, who remember birthdays when everyone else forgot. His flaw, the inability to relax with the unknown, is also his greatest strength, the ability to transform chaos into order, the abstract into tangible. The problem is not the planning itself, but the weight it carries. When the to-do list becomes a prison, when the schedule becomes more important than the people involved in it, or when the search for predictability steals the ability to be surprised by life, it's time to ask, to what extent is this control necessary, and when does it start to control you? If you've recognized yourself so far, know that there's nothing wrong with liking structure. The world needs people like you, those who think about the details when others only see the big picture. But also allow yourself, from time to time, to leave a blank space in your schedule. Perhaps it is there, in that unplanned void, that life holds its best surprises. After all, even the best strategies need a bit of sea. Go for improvisation. And who knows? You may find that sometimes the best plans are the ones that weren't made. So, are you also one of those who can't sleep without checking the agenda for the next day? Comment here about your relationship with planning, or if you know someone like that. Share this text with anyone who needs to hear that they are not alone in this. And if you want more reflections like this, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Until next time, when we'll talk about another one of those habits that reveal much more than we imagine. Winking face. The control that controls us. When the organization became a golden cage. Have you ever stopped to think that your impeccable schedule could be a disguised productivity trap? It's not about being messy or irresponsible, it's about realizing that sometimes the map you've drawn is stopping you from exploring life's most interesting territories. Just imagine, you spend hours optimizing every minute, coloring blocks in Google Calendar as if it were a professional Tetris, and at the end of the day you ask yourself, why do I feel so empty if I accomplished everything? The answer may be right there. You confused efficiency with meaning. Completing tasks is not the same as living experiences. And worse, when life becomes a checklist, we stop tasting things. The myth of perfect productivity, or why you're exhausted from being so organized. Society glorifies those who wake up at 5 a.m., meditate, work out, work 12 hours and still read 50 books a year. But no one talks about the cost of this, the anxiety of never being enough ahead, the guilt of taking a Sunday to do nothing, the feeling that, even with everything planned, something always slips away. And that something is not a forgotten task. It's spontaneity. It's coffee with a friend who appeared out of nowhere. It's the genius idea that came to you while you were staring aimlessly out the window. It's life happening outside of Notion's little boxes. Painful, but necessary. Question. How many times have you postponed happiness because it wasn't in the plan? The paradox of control. The more you hold on, the more life slips through your fingers. Here is the naked truth. Excessive planning is an illusion of security. You think you are in control, but in reality, you are a prisoner of your own structure. Unforeseen events are not failures, they are invitations. That cancelled meeting, that delayed flight, that mistake in the project, could be secret doors to something better. The best stories start with "I wasn't expecting." Love, friendships, opportunities, discoveries, none of these fit into a spreadsheet. And the most ironic, those who plan the most, enjoy the least. Because you're always worried about the next item on your list instead of savoring the now. The radical experiment. What happens when you leave a blank? Try this in the next 7 days. 1. Block 1 hour a day on your calendar, and don't put anything there. Call it free time or window to chance. The name doesn't matter. The important thing is not to fill it. 2. When someone invites you to something unplanned, say yes once. Even if it's just a coffee, a walk, an aimless conversation. 3. Write down what happened in this empty time. An idea. An insight. An unexpected laugh. The magic is there. Spoiler, at first, you will feel useless, anxious, like you are wasting time. This is normal. Your brain has been trained to associate productivity with value. But after a few days, something changes. You begin to realize that life isn't a progress report, it's a collection of moments. The big revelation: you don't have to choose between chaos and control. It's not about throwing your agenda out the window and becoming an aimless bohemian. It's about understanding that life is a dance between structure and fluidity. Structure gives you direction. Fluidity gives you magic. Practical example. With planning, you plan a dinner with friends on Saturday. With fluidity, on the way, you decide to go into an old bookstore, find a rare book, and end up spending the night talking about childhood dreams. This moment was not in the plan. But it will be the thing you remember 10 years from now. The invitation: no, it's not a CTA, it's a mindset shift. This is not a criticism of the organization. It's an invitation to question: what are you sacrificing in the name of control? Did you sacrifice boredom? Which, by the way, is the birthplace of creativity. Did you sacrifice the surprise? Which is the spice of memories. Did you sacrifice the error? Which is often the shortcut to success. The final, and most important, question. If you looked back 50 years from now, what would you miss? The tasks you completed, or the moments you missed because they didn't fit into the schedule? To reflect, and act, right now. 1. Take out your cell phone and delete an unnecessary reminder today. Just 1. Feel the relief. 2. Text someone you haven't seen in a while. No reason, no agenda. Just because you remembered. 3. Do one thing today wrong. Start at the end, skip a step, improvise. The world will not end. And if you made it this far, tell me something in the comments. When was the last time something unexpected changed your day, or your life, for the better? I want to know, and, more importantly, you need to remember. Share this text with that friend who is stressed about their own organization. Maybe he needs that permission to breathe. And if you want more reflections like this, turn on notifications, because the next one will be about that habit that you don't even realize is sabotaging you. Until then. And remember, Sometimes the best plan is to have no plan at all. Milky Way. The time that doesn't wait for schedules. And why the best stories are written between the lines of the agenda. Have you ever stopped to think that the clock is the only tyrant we pay to oppress us? We buy alarm clocks, subscribe to productivity apps, mark every minute as if time were a lazy employee who needs supervision. But what if life wasn't a spreadsheet to be filled in, but rather a blank slate where the crossed outs are the most interesting parts? Think about the last time something really important happened in your life. An insight that changed everything, an encounter that redefined your path, a laugh that saved your day. How many of them were scheduled? How many could fit into a 30-minute block between meeting and quick lunch? Here's the inconvenient truth. The things that matter most are experts at arriving unannounced. They don't send emails setting up appointments. They don't ask permission to mess up your plans. They just happen while you're busy checking items off a list that, ultimately, no one but you will remember in 5 years. The performing productivity trap. We live in a time where being busy has become synonymous with being important. We post stories of late nights working as if they were medals. We share screenshots of completed to-do lists as if they were epic achievements. But what are we really achieving? A life where every second is optimized. For what? Writer Alan Watts used to say that life is not a journey with a destination, but a dance. And dancing, my friend, has no schedule. There are no KPIs. There are no deadlines. It just has the movement, the rhythm, and sometimes the grace to stumble and laugh at your own balance. But we exchanged the dance for the efficiency marathon. And the worst? We don't even know why we're running anymore. What we lose when we gain time. There's a Japanese word that should be on all our post-its, ma. It's not exactly time, but the space between things, the silence between the notes of a song, the pause between one breath and another. This is where the magic happens. That's where life breathes. But we filled the mail with notifications, with everyone, with reminders. We transform the VA. Turned into an enemy, as if idleness were a crime against productivity. And so, we lose the art of letting things happen. How many brilliant ideas did you have in the shower, which, by the way, were not on your agenda? How many deep conversations started with an "I'm just stopping by quickly" that ended up lasting 3 hours? How many times has wasted time become the most valuable moment of your day? We call this luck. But what if it's just life reminding us that it doesn't fit into boxes? The paradox of perfect planning. Here's a cruel irony. The more we plan, the less space there is for what really matters. The couple who schedules a romantic night on Google Calendar ends up arguing because one of them forgot to block the time. The professional who schedules time for creativity spends the hour staring at the blank screen, pressed by the clock. The person who writes down "meditate" in the planner spends the 10 minutes thinking about how much time is left to finish. Life is not a project to be managed. It is an experience to be had. And experiences, by definition, are not controllable. The invitation, or challenge. Today, I propose a radical experiment: leave something important off the agenda. It's not about being irresponsible. It's about recognizing that some things are too big to fit on a timetable. Leave a Saturday without plans, and see what or who shows up. Start an aimless conversation, and find out where it takes you. Do something unproductive, painting, walking aimlessly, looking at the sky, and watch as your brain, freed from the pressure, begins to work better than ever. The secret is not to manage your time better. It's to stop fighting against it. To reflect and disobey, now. 1. Delete an appointment from your calendar this week. Don't reschedule it. Leave the space empty. Feel what happens. 2. Do something without purpose. Not to relax, not to be productive later. Just because. 3. Let someone delay your plans today. A friend who showed up unannounced, an idea that came up in the middle of another task. Give permission for the unexpected. And tell me in the comments, when was the last time you broke your own rules and discovered it was exactly what you needed? Share this text with that friend who keeps saying "I don't have time." Maybe he just needs to remember that time is not a resource to be spent, but a space to be inhabited. And if you want more reflections like this, Turn on notifications, because the next one will be about that habit that you think is harmless, but is slowly stealing your peace. Until then. And remember, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to do nothing. Cloud Hash. Time is not a clock, it's a river, and you don't have to swim against the current. Have you ever noticed how the word productive has become an invisible verb that haunts us? Today I was productive, I need to be more productive, I didn't do enough. As if life were an Excel spreadsheet where each empty cell is a personal failure. But what if I told you that the obsession with productivity is just capitalism's way of making us forget that we are human? Stop and think. When was the last time you did something simply because it gave you pleasure, without calculating the return on investment of your time? When have you let an afternoon slip through your fingers like sand, without guilt, without the little voice in the back of your head whispering you should be doing X? The toxic productivity trap, and how to get out of it without guilt. 1. The myth of time well spent. Society has taught us that idle time equals wasted time. But science says the opposite. The most creative brain isn't the one that works non-stop, it's the one that knows how to rest. Einstein's greatest insights came while he played the violin. Kafka wrote The Metamorphosis in the early hours of the morning, after exhausting days at the office, not despite the exhaustion. Oh, but how to escape it? Radical experiment. Write down everything you did today. Now cross out half. Not because it wasn't important, but because you deserve space to do nothing. What's left? There's your real life. 2. The could have always done more syndrome. Have you ever finished a day of work, looked back and thought, I could have been more efficient? This is not ambition. It's a prison. Psychologist Adam Grant calls this the maximization lament, the idea that there is always a better version of ourselves, and anything short of that is failure. The blunt truth: you are not a machine. Your value is not in the quantity of tasks completed, but in the quality of attention you give to your own existence. 3. The paradox of leisure, why rest feels like work. Have you noticed how much easier it is to say I'm busy than I'm resting? Idleness has become a shameful luxury. But look closely, who decides that working until exhaustion is noble and stopping is lazy? Spoiler: the same system that profits from your fatigue. Challenge: the next time someone asks, what have you been doing? Say, I've been practicing the art of doing nothing. It's exhausting, but it's worth it. And notice the expression on the person's face. You just questioned a dogma. The Anti-Productivity Manual, for those who want to live, not just produce. 1. The rule of 3 daily numbers. Every day, give up 3 things that add nothing to your life. An unnecessary meeting. An automatic yes out of obligation. Guilt for not having enjoyed every minute. Why it works: productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing less of what doesn't matter. 2. The power of bad weather. The Greeks had 2 words for time. Chronos, clock time, linear, measurable. Kairos, qualitative time, the right moment, the meaningful experience. Your mission: exchange 1 hour of Chronos for Kairos every day. Instead of scrolling through your feed, sit on the floor and observe the light in the room. Instead of answering emails at 10 p.m., read a poem out loud to yourself. Instead of optimizing your routine, let something go wrong on purpose: break a glass, miss the bus, forget your shopping list. The best insights come from chaos, not control. 3. The conscious waste technique. Do something intentionally useless this week. Plant a seed knowing that it will not grow. Write a letter that you will never send. Buy a nice notebook and leave it blank. The goal: prove to your brain that you don't need to justify your existence with results. To reflect and subvert today. 1. What task do you avoid most? Now do the opposite: leave it incomplete on purpose. What happens to your anxiety when you stop fighting it? 2. When was the last time you lost track of time? Not in a movie or series, which are passive escapism, but by doing something so absorbing that the world disappears. How can you bring more of this into your life? 3. What would you do if no one could judge your productivity? Write it down. Now do 10% of that tomorrow. And tell me in the comments. When was the last time you wasted time and discovered you were actually coming to life? Share this text with that friend who is always feeling the pressure, or with yourself, to read whenever the guilt strikes. The world won't end if you stop. But your soul can. And if you want more productive heresy like this, turn on notifications, because the next one is going to be about why your to-do list is actually a list of toxic shits, and how to burn it without remorse. Until then. And remember, the most revolutionary thing you can do today is, do nothing. Herb. P.S. If you've made it this far, congratulations. This means that you chose to spend your time on something that doesn't get you likes, promotions, or external approval. That, my friend, is freedom. Bullseye.